Hey guys, I am going to share with you my own recipe for potato soup. The first thing you're going to do are peel, and it doesn't have to be perfect, a bunch of big potatoes. The nice thing about this recipe is it's entirely flexible. There's no perfect way to do it. I think I have here, I'll give you my rough estimates, about 5 of these giant potatoes. What you're going to do is peel them and then cut them into about this size piece. Usually I like to have them a little bit thicker and a little shorter. You'll see here in a second, but it really doesn't matter. So I like kind of some big potato chunks in my soup, so I like to leave it, rather chunky, like some of the pieces here. More so the pieces here though. And then you're also going to need an onion. And if you're using maybe just 2 potatoes, maybe half an onion, but the onion makes it really good. I like to cut these pieces kind of large, just like the potatoes. I think it just tastes better that way. It's totally up to you and however you like it, but the onion is, in my opinion, a must. Add your potatoes to a pot of water, and you're going to want the water, or you could use chicken broth here to cover the potatoes. Also add your onions. And you're going to want both your potatoes and your onions covered in, like I said, whether it be water or chicken broth. If you are using water, you're going to want to season it a little bit. And the way I like to do it here at the beginning is with some of this Better Than Bullion chicken. It's like a weird pasty goo, but it works well, and it's pretty decent. So I add that to the water, and then that way it gives it some better flavor. It's not just water. Well, that's starting to boil. You're going to melt a stick of butter. I used to use 2. This is the lighter recipe, and add about a half of a cup of flour. Now, if you're using as much as I am, you might want it just a little bit creamier. You might want to add in, anywhere from a cup to 2 cups of water, of flour. But if so, you're going to need a little bit more butter, or you're just going to need to add a little bit more cream and then add flour. You can use cream. You can also use whole milk. I used to use cream. Today I'm using whole milk. I'm trying to make it just a little bit lighter than my normal. So what I'm doing is I'm mixing in some of the milk to my flour and butter mixture. And then this way you won't get the lumpy or the grainy flour in your soup, because you want your soup to be, bump-free, grain-free, that type of thing. So once you're done with that and your soup is boiling, you're going to want to add some salt and pepper. And this is going to be to taste. So you can add some now. You're probably going to need to adjust it later. And then, everybody kind of likes it just a little bit different. So you can offer salt and pepper. But as soon as your potatoes are cooked through, and you can test that by just sticking a fork in, and if it comes off easily, then it works. Then you're going to be ready to add your flour and your butter and milk mixture to your soup. Stir it while you're pouring it in, and make sure you get it nice and incorporated throughout. And then you're going to let it just cook down for a while. It's, everything's already cooked through, but you want the flavors to really, blend together and start working together. And the longer soup simmers for, usually the better it tastes. And I can tell you without a doubt that this soup tastes even better the next day and the day after. It also freezes great, and yeah, it's delicious. So, let it work in, bring it back up to a boil. Kind of see where you're at depending on your time. If you'd like, and this is something I do maybe half the time depending on if I used cream or 2 sticks of butter, that type of thing, is stick in an emulsifier, pull half of it out and throw it through the blender. I do like to have those chunks in the soup, but what you can do is break down some of the potatoes. You could do it with a handheld potato, masher if you'd like, but break down some of those potatoes so that the soup's just kind of naturally a little bit creamier, because those potatoes are broken down a bit. So you can do that. It's an option, but this is totally just an optional part. So do that if you're interested, and make sure it's nice and blended through. Keep in mind too that the soup thickens a lot as it cools, and you'll see that especially if you eat it the next day. It does kind of go back to soup consistency, but it thickens up a lot. So it's just whatever you'd like. Now the soup may be ready to go, or it might need a little more salt and a little more pepper. You're going to actually probably end up adding a lot more salt and pepper than you could imagine. Potatoes need some salt. But so don't be shy. Really, don't be afraid to add a bunch of salt and a bunch of pepper. This isn't a healthy recipe, but it's a delicious one. Top it with cheese and green onions. Those are the two essentials. Cheese is an absolute essential. Do not skimp on the cheese. I'm telling you, you must add cheese. I like to do cheddar and Monterey Jack. I also like to add green onions, and I know that people who enjoy bacon really like to add bacon to the top of this. So that's my potato soup recipe. I hope you guys enjoyed this recipe. If you make it, let me know. Otherwise, give it a thumbs up and I will give you more recipes.